Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Debate Gate Sports Podcast. Today's just gonna kind of be nothing specific, just gonna be me and Josh talking about our Bears and our beloved Bulls. So currently we are recording during the Bears game. I think it's like the start of the fourth quarter now. Am I right?
Yeah, yes, it is. It is fourth quarter, 8 minutes left. We are up 30-20.
All right. So Bears are up 10. The bad is that they're beating the Lions. The worst is that they've put up 30 points with Mitch Trubisky. So Bears fans are asking Gavin, are you high? You're wearing a Bears jersey, and you're saying that it's bad that they're winning, and they put up 30 points with Trubisky. That's what we've wanted from Trubisky. The reason that that's so terrible is because Mitchell Trubisky is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. And nothing is going to change my mind until he puts together a few good games of real offense and real good decision making against a real team. So why is this so bad? Is that Matt Nagy is looking for any little bit of hope that Mitch Trubisky is a real quarterback. And he'll find this as some way of proof that Mitch Trubisky is a good quarterback. So he's going to be constantly starting Trubisky because, he put up 30 points against the Lions. So clearly he's the man for the future now, which he's not. So I think this is the worst thing that could have happened to the Bears. You either got to win out or you lose out. You can't beat the Lions and the Jaguars and finish 7-9, where you're going to get an ass draft pick. You're not going to make the playoffs. You're going to be stuck with Trubisky because he's going to have two good games against the worst defenses in the league. So the Bears will not be competitive under Trubisky, and now it seems like they're not going to get a better draft pick because they're not going to finish 5-11.
Which is the issue, which is a big issue. I wanted them to lose out because I really like Zach Wilson, who I don't know if he'll fall to him, and Kyle Trask out of Florida and BYU. I like them both a lot, but I was looking at the draft order. It's not awful for us, right? It's not awful. I don't think we'll make the playoffs because I think it's either or. We're either going to win out, then lose against the Packers, which will keep us out of the playoffs at 10.
Do they play in week 17?
Yeah, we play them week 17.
We've seen that movie before. Week 17?
Yeah. So there's like 5 really good quarterbacks this draft. You have Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Kyle Trask, and that kid out of North Dakota State who I don't know of.
Well, I heard 3 of them are supposed to go top 10. I heard the North Dakota State guy is like projected like end of the top 10, and then Fields and Lawrence obviously number 1. I think Fields is supposed to go to like the Jags at 3 if I'm
They're at 2, but yeah.
Whatever. So yeah, I'm hoping it's Trask just because Wilson, I feel like, I don't know, BYU. But Trask is he's played like real competition.
Yeah, because the one real good team that he played against with a great defense was Coastal Carolina, and he kind of got shut down.
Yeah, he didn't put up 200 yards in that game.
Right.
So I don't really trust him. But, knowing Ryan Pace and this awful Bears organization, they'll probably pick Zach Wilson.
Yeah. So let's assume the playoffs stay where they are, right? And the Bears, let's say, win out and get the 18th overall pick. So
okay, so I thought it was like 17 or 18. It's 18.
Out of the playoffs. First pick out of the playoffs. The teams ahead of us that might draft a quarterback, besides obviously the top 2, because that's obviously going to be 1 Lawrence, 2 Fields. It's not even a question. Is the Bengals won't draft at 1 at 3 because they still have Burrow, and they'll take the kid out of Oregon State, the tackle, Oregon, who's really, really good. Dallas might, maybe not. We'll see. It really depends on the cap situation with Dak Prescott.
I don't think they will. I don't. He said that he plans that, he said something in an interview. Dak's our guy, so I don't think they'll draft a quarterback. Guess anything, it's up in the air.
Yeah, I don't know. It really depends on what they're going to do. I think they should trade after Zeke. I don't know if they'll be able to, but I think they should. We'll talk about that later. Chargers definitely won't. The Eagles probably won't because they drafted Hurts in the second round last year, so you're basically throwing a second round pick. If they drafted him like the sixth round, then yeah, I'd say they probably would have drafted a one, especially with how bad Carson Wentz is, but I don't think they will. Carolina might, but I think they're going to wait one more year, maybe. I think that's where the North Dakota State kid will go if he goes. Then
You think he'll go to Carolina?
yeah.
Okay.
Then because I think this will be the best draft pick they'll have for the next few years because that defense is only going to get better, right? And their defense is kind of carrying their offense, kind of, not really. And then they'll get Christian McCaffrey back. So this will be the best draft pick they have in years. So they'll probably draft the North Dakota
What is
State
Teddy
kid.
Bridgewater's contract?
It's a 4-year 60-something, or it's like 4-year 60-something. He's getting paid like 25.
3-year 63.
Oh, I was close. So I say you draft him, right? If I was Carolina, you draft him or whoever you like, or Wilson. I don't think Trask will go that high. I don't think he's really projected inside the top 15. But you draft him, then you sit him behind Bridgewater for 2 years, and then you bring him in like a Patrick Mahomes, and hopefully he stars out. Obviously, I'm not saying he will be Patrick Mahomes. Then Washington, I think, will draft a quarterback. I don't think Detroit will. I don't think Atlanta will. Houston won't, but their picks going to Miami, and Miami won't. Denver might, but I think they'll stick with Drew Lock with how many injuries they've had this year. That I think they'll give Drew Lock a whole season.
Initially, I had them making the playoffs, but then Von Miller, like
Bradley Chubb,
injury, and then
so many injuries this year.
Sutton.
And then obviously Chicago's right now at 13, but I don't think that'll happen because we're playing like 3 of the worst teams in the NFL, and the Texans, the Lions, which we are still winning today. The Texans and the Lions, which were awful, and then the Jags, and then the Vikings, which are, I think, losing, or they might be up by a little.
They're up by 3 last time I checked.
Anyways, Minnesota won't because they're still paying Kirk Cousins. New England might. That's the issue. New England. We kind of have to beat out New England because the other teams are San Francisco, which I don't think will. New England, I think, will wait till the later rounds, though.
Francisco could.
San Francisco could. Las Vegas won't, and Baltimore won't. So right now, let's say we get the 18th pick. New England might. San Francisco might. Washington might, Carolina might. So there's 4 teams that might be ahead of us that will take a possible 3 quarterbacks. Because obviously, like I said, Lawrence Fields 1 and 2. So then you have North Dakota State, Zach Wilson, and I should probably look up his name and start calling him North Dakota State kid. And then Kyle Trask. So 3 quarterbacks for 4 picks there. And
Trey Lance?
Yeah, that's him. Trey Lance. So I think the one who has the least chance of drafting a quarterback there would be Carolina because maybe they want to do it with just 1 year instead of 2 years.
And their guy $21 million. He hasn't really been bad for them.
No, but he's obviously not like gonna take you to the Super Bowl. Right? He's not going to take you to the Super Bowl.
So they'll probably, if I had to guess, Carolina will probably draft like
probably an offensive lineman if there's a good one available.
Yeah, but I'd say they'll probably draft a quarterback like towards the end, later in the draft, like a 2nd or 3rd rounder maybe. Like I don't think they have their QB need is bad enough where they think they should spend like a top 15 pick on him.
Yeah, and I think New England will just do the Jimmy G situation where they'll draft a decent quarterback out of a smaller school in the 2nd or 3rd round. So they might not, because you know how Bill Belichick is. The past 5 drafts have just been awful for him, so bad. You know, it's just,
I don't even know who they picked, honestly.
Yeah,
they didn't have them last year, right?
What'd you say?
Did the Patriots have a 1st round pick last year?
No, they didn't. Their first pick was spent on a. Oh wait, no, maybe they did. Yeah, I don't know. I'll look it up, but what was I saying? Oh yeah, drafting a Division III or Division II safety in the 2nd round with the 34th overall pick.
Yeah, they did not have a 1st round pick. Sorry, what?
They didn't? Okay. Okay, yeah, Kyle Duggar, 37th overall out of Lorraine University.
Yeah, let's see how that's worked out for them.
Yeah, I don't even think he's played a minute for them. It's insane. He's been just so bad at drafting.
But according to PFF, Jacoby Myers is the second best wide receiver in the NFL. So maybe
Oh
they
my God. A little rant about PFF here. It's so weird. It's so weird because some you're like totally agreeing with. You're like, yeah, Khalil Mack's second or third best edge defender in the NFL. That makes sense because he's been really good on the run game, even though he hasn't been that great in the pass game. And he's just been like doing non like score sheet things, allowing other players to get pressures. Like I bet all of Bilal Nichols, Mario Edwards, and Brent Urban's sacks are because of Khalil Mack getting pressure and then the quarterback, stepping up in the pocket and then getting sacked by the defensive tackles for any of them. So that makes sense. But then having, like you said, Jacoby Meyers is the second best wide receiver in football, not having DeAndre Hopkins in the top 3 at any point this season, makes sense that Devontae Adams is one. It's like they just kind of pick it.
Like even, I guess, how do they develop their grades? I've looked up so many like YouTube videos on like what they value, I guess, and like how Jacoby Myers could even, like, what stats they look at to even have Jacoby Myers in the top 100, much less the top 2. And I've just found nothing. So I just don't understand. And it's annoying how they make you pay like $8 a month for that.
Yeah, you have to. So I heard that you have to apply there, and then they give you like 3 games, and they're like, focus on these 3 players from the 3 games and give them each a rating, and we'll see if you agree with our ratings. So it's kind of like they're just kind of like developing a system where everyone kind of thinks the same. But it's so dumb sometimes as well. Like I used to watch the PFF YouTube channel for a while, and then they would have all the stats up there, but then they would have, like Sheldon Rankings, the second best defensive tackle in 2018 behind Aaron Donald's godly season. And then Sheldon Rankings
Sheldon Richardson?
No, Rackins from the Saints.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the guy from the Jets.
Yeah. So they had him closer to Aaron Donald's 20 sack season, 7 or so forced fumble season where he won Defensive Player of the Year, than whoever was the third guy. So they're saying that guy was closer to a historic season than he was just a decent season. And I looked at his stats. I remember this. They looked at his stats, and he had like 4 sacks and no forced fumbles. I was like, what? How? It's insane.
I don't know. I've stopped paying attention to PFF, even though the league seems to love it. But I don't know. One thing I wanted to get at is how you mentioned the Cowboys potentially trading Zeke. And Zeke, I would consider myself a Cowboys fan. I got family in Texas. Been to the stadium, wonderful stadium. I love Dak. I think Dak coming out of the 4th round and being like franchise quarterback is really cool. And, I always want the Cowboys to like succeed. I'm tired of them just getting shit on for no reason, really. Except for
really for no reason.
Okay, the majority of people like you, Josh, hate them is because ESPN goes crazy for them. And all ESPN does is rip them.
I also hate all the fans that still consider them America's team. Like, shut up.
I don't consider them America's team. I just
want you. That's why I don't hate you, Gavin.
You do hate me.
Yeah, but like that's another thing. That's for other reasons.
But yeah, after Dak went down, Zeke is just Le'Veon Bell 2.0, and we've seen that with their offensive line. Like I think Zach Martin went down, Travis Frederick retired,
Tyron Smith.
Did he get hurt?
Yeah, he got hurt at the beginning of the year. I think it was a neck injury.
And so he
went to the Cowboys and got shoved down my throat for 2 weeks.
Sorry, what?
I said I only knew that because it's the Cowboys and it got shoved down my throat for 2 weeks that he was injured.
Yeah, true. But so Zeke, I'm thinking like, okay, that was a good pick. I think they picked him at like 4, right? in 2016.
Yeah, 4 right behind Joey Bosa at 3.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And then
Right before Jalen.
Mariota and Winston too, right?
Yeah. And then I think Ramsey went 5 to the Jags that year. Or no, it was Dante Fowler Jr. that year.
Okay. Anyways, so I'm like, okay, this guy's good. Like, he gets a lot of yards. He's efficient with it. He can score touchdowns, and he can like receive a little bit. Like he's no Saquon Barkley, but he's also not like Derrick Henry either. So like he's got some good receiving numbers. So I'm like, yeah, he should fit in perfectly. They got a good offensive line and a good passing attack, so defenses don't just have to focus on him. Well, when Dak goes down and the offensive line goes down, right after signing the second worst contract in the league, Zeke goes to shit.
Yeah,
I kind of hate Zeke now. He decides to put butter on his gloves before every game, so he can fumble 4 times a game, so that he can put up like 29 rushing yards and 3 fantasy football points a game. And I would love to see that. So I've kind of come to the conclusion that you really just can't pay a running back that kind of money anymore, because there's no such thing as really like a good running back, except for like a couple guys in the league. There's more so just good running systems, because you can form a good running system with just like a balanced offensive attack and a good offensive line. Like
for sure.
David Montgomery, he's good. I would consider, if he was on any other team besides the Bears with their awful offensive line, I would consider him like a top 15 running back. And he's only going to get better. Like you see the comparisons that he has. I think he's only going to get better.
Oh, for sure. He breaks so many tackles.
Yeah. But like people are saying that like he's like bottom 5 in like running backs off of pure talent. But you got a quarterback that doesn't know what he's doing. By the way, the last 3 quarterbacks the Bears have started have all been the worst 3 in the league, arguably. And, like the worst offensive line. Like how many years have we seen Charles Leno and Bobby Massey get holding penalties?
Insane.
Since 2015. And so, yeah, I just feel like going back to Zeke, it's just, you just can't really bank on a running back being that good, because it's more so just the system rather than the running back. I feel like unless he is like Christian McCaffrey level in your offense, he would be the only guy that I would really trust. But you see, even he's been hurt.
Yeah.
So you really can't trust running backs anymore. You can't really pay them the big bucks. That's what we've learned this year.
I think there's only 3 guys who fall in that category of you have to pay running back. Like you have to. 3 guys: Saquon, Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, or 4, Alvin Kamara. Because Mike Davis.
No McCaffrey
because of Mike Davis, right? Because Mike Davis came in and he's been nearly a top 10 running back when McCaffrey's been out. He's been very good. So I do love McCaffrey a lot, but I do think he's very special.
More of like a check down system.
Exactly. And he's amazing to make a ton out of it, but I would pay him as well. I'm not saying he's a must pay, right? I think there are some guys who can back him up, who are current backup running backs that you can pay for much less and don't lose that much production. You may lose 200.
I'm not a huge fan of McCaffrey. I thought his production was going to go way down with Taysom Hill in rather than Drew Brees, because Drew Brees, he gets slants boy and checks down to Kamara. Kamara is not like the fastest, most agile guy out there. He's more just like a receiving threat most of all.
Yeah.
But now that Brees' career could potentially be over, don't think he's going to be as good. So I would replace McCaffrey with Kamara on that. But
Kamara's iffy because of how good Latavius Murray
is also a stud. Even Henry, he's just he's a power back, so he doesn't really necessarily need a good offensive line like Zeke does, or Le'Veon Bell did. And that's what I was meaning by the Le'Veon Bell 2.0. It's Le'Veon Bell
needs a good offensive line.
He needed a good offensive line in Pittsburgh and a good passing attack as well, because that was when Big Ben and Antonio Brown, those guys, having a year. Anyways, Derrick Henry, he kind of relies a little bit more on a good offensive line, but this year I believe you're more of a Titans fan than I am.
Yeah.
Titans, their O line has kind of taken a dip, correct?
Oh, for sure, because Jack Conklin left, Tyler Lewan tore his ACL, and those were their top two, right? Their tackles were the best part of their offensive line. Obviously, now Ben Jones is having a breakout year, and he's the best center in the NFL, in my opinion. It's either him or Corey Linsley, but their guards are okay. I actually don't know any of their guards, and then they're not playing their first-round pick in Isaiah Wilson. I don't know who they're playing on the edges. I think one's David Queensberry, and he's all right, I guess. He's like not – I bet he'd be the starter on the Bears offensive line, but he wouldn't be a great starter. So he's okay. So obviously it's taken a big dip besides Ben Jones, and he's been just as good, if not better. I don't know if better, especially the way he ended last year, but that's why I put him in that category, is because no one else can do what he did for that team, right? That's the thing for my special team, or not, like the special few, is that if another guy came in, can he put up anywhere near the production he did? So Latavius Murray, I guess I'm going to kick Kamara off because Latavius Murray can be that good. Not that good, but he isn't that big of a fall off from Kamara. And then Mike Daniels Davis was not that big of a fall off from Christian McCaffrey. But then from Dalvin Cook to Anthony Matheson, that was a huge fall off the 1 or 2 weeks that Dalvin Cook missed. They went from averaging over 120, 125 yards per game to that 2-game stretch where they had Matheson in. He had less than 50 yards rushing, I'm pretty sure. Or under 70. 70, 80, that's kind of the good mark now instead of 100, but in the new pass happy era. But it's, under 50 is really bad. So they jumped down a ton. And now I'm not saying that Mike Daniels or Latavius Murray are Kamara or McCaffrey. I'm just saying that they went from having a top 5 running back / running game to an edge top 10, top 15, where the other 3 guys, you go from top 5 all the way down to bottom 5. That's the difference, right? And without
for me, like, my hate towards Zeke is like different because it's not like he's replaceable per se. Even though he probably could, because I could say that. I think it's Tony Pollard, right?
Yeah,
he's been. I would start him over Zeke right now. It's just that once like some of the aspects of the offense goes away, he goes from a top 5 to a bottom 5. So it's not like he's a top 5 and his replacement is also like a top 10. It's just that his performance goes from top 5 to bottom 5 once he loses a quarterback and 3 key offensive linemen. So that's why my hate for Zeke is like much more than like why I think Zeke should be paying you guys rather than you paying Zeke.
I'd like to give a shout out.
I want to say about the NFL, what you've noticed over these past.
I would like to quickly just say shout out to Corey Davis for putting 28.5 on my bench, and AJ Brown putting up 10.7 and fumbling on the 1-yard line. So then he lost a fumble and didn't even get a touchdown. So I'd like to shout them out. That's about it. So any other things I've noticed about the NFL? I think that the injuries played a big deal in like the play overall. Like that's way more sloppy this year because it's like it's weird because I was trying to rank a bunch of guys. I was trying to rank the other day. I was just going through Sports Info Solutions. Shout out to them, greatest free stat website on the internet right now. I was like, just for fun, I was like, you know what? Let me try and rank all the players that are right now playing based off of just strictly their 2020 seasons. So, and there's like a ton of injuries this year. So like past running back, it was like easy Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, and Derrick Henry top 3. And then after that, it was such a struggle just trying to find guys after that and trying to rank them correctly. You know, you had like Todd Gurley, Aaron Jones, Kareem Hunt, Josh Jackson, James Robinson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and like all of them are like okay. None of them are great. All of them are all right to good. So it's like you're missing a ton of the elite talent in the NFL besides really wide receiver. Same thing with tight end. You have Travis Kelce and that's it. You know, Darren Waller's really good. George Kittle injured, and then everyone else has been like all right. You know,
Kittle's a sure number 2. I thought he was the best tight end in football, but I think he's been hurt he was hurt for like a 4-week stretch. Now I think he's out for the year, right?
Yeah, he's only played 3 or 4 games this year, and Waller's been insane. Like he put up 37 fantasy points a day, like 12 receptions, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he's been really good. But then, like arguably the third best tight end this year alone has been T.J. Hawkinson, and he's been like in any other year he'd be like bottom top 10, maybe even out of the top 10. So it's just very weird to look at that. Just looking at like who's very good.
I
And
think
how there's like a big
a lot of it because off-season training isn't the same for them, as well as no preseason really hurts. So like athletes' bodies because they're just not ready for it. Because how many like ACL tears do we see in week 1? It's like Nick Bosa, Saquon.
First week. Yeah, I'm blanking as well. And like just
I would say probably 8 to 10, like even on week 1.
Yeah, superstars for sure. I mean, McCaffrey's been hurt all year. Also, like to give another shout out.
Number 1 overall pick.
Let me give a shout out. Right. Shout out to the Bears for choking it. They're now losing 34-30. Shout out to the Bears defense on my phone. Gave me -2. Once again, shout out. Let's go, boys. Let's go. Get that.
Now we're happy. Now this podcast has turned into a happy episode.
I mean, not really for me because now I'm in fantasy football because fuck the Bears defense. I mean, they've gotten interception, but they've allowed 34 points, so they're still -2. So thanks for that.
Yeah, that's true. That's a bit more frustrating. Like it's one thing if they were losing like 10-3, that would be the ideal situation. But now it's like defense is just giving up. You heard what's his face? Tony Dungy last week against the Packers. He's like, it almost looks like this defense is just giving up. Probably have. They've been carrying this sorry franchise for the past like
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
So I'd also like to give it a shout out to the Raiders for losing to the Jets right now. They are down 28-24 with 2 minutes left, and they have the ball at the New York 12. So they are about to score. But the Jets could fuck up the tank. The Jets could fuck up the tank.
So the Jaguars could potentially get it.
The Jaguars can potentially get it right now because they are up by 4. Right? And it's currently 2nd down and 6.
Wow.
So that is insane. That's crazy. I think some safeties have been injured as well. Speaking of safeties, Jamal Adams. What's up, Blitz boy? I mean, I know you're listening to this right now. I'm calling you out. I can play better than you. No, that's a lie. I can't. But, like, what happened? This man was the best safety in football by far last year because he was a great in coverage. You know, he didn't really get a ton of interceptions, but he was great at guarding tight ends. He was great just guarding slot, and like the whole middle of the field was shut down, 20 yards in to the line of scrimmage. And then, he would also be a great pass rusher. But this year, the only time he's leading on or the only reason he's leading the Seahawks in sacks and is getting sacks is because he's coming in as a late free rusher.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in coverage, he's awful. This man's a cone. These guys are routing him up like it's nothing. He can't read the quarterback's eyes for shit. He's so bad this year.
Bad. It's really interesting. The Seahawks have been an interesting team because, like, they're kind of where I expect
4th and goal at the 9.
But, like, not in a way. Sorry, what?
4th and goal at the 9. It's now 4th and goal at the 9 for the Raiders.
Hallelujah, as I was saying.
So
the Seahawks, I expected their defense to be, like, average, not, like, I'm thinking, like, they could re-sign Jadeveon Clowney. They could have Jamal Adams, like this unit actually could be pretty good. You know, Bobby Wagner, he's old, but he can be like a veteran presence for these guys. Instead, they have a historic defense, and instead their offense is the one that's taking the jumps because DK Metcalf decides to be, according to every NFL account that has ever lived, the best wide receiver in the NFL. No, he's not. He's like fringe top 10.
Oh, that's a bit risky.
You don't even think he's top 10?
No, I do. I think he's fringe top 5. When I ranked these back in like week 8, I had him 7 behind Allen Robinson, Calvin Ridley, Stephon Diggs, Julio Jones. Because when Julio Jones has been healthy, he's been really good. DeAndre Hopkins and Devontae Adams. And now I would probably put him at 5. And I'd move Calvin Ridley ahead of Stephon Diggs. And I'd move Allen Robinson in front of Stephon Diggs as well. So I'd put him at probably 4 or 5. So I'd say he's fringe top 5, but he's nowhere near number 1 still.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So fringe top 10 for me is like just inside the top 10.
I wouldn't consider number 4 just inside the top 10, but yeah. I'd say fringe top 10 is 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I would have him like
You have him at 8?
I'd have him at like 9 or 10. That's not the point. It's not the point. It's not why we're here today. But so yeah, the Seahawks are interesting. I don't understand. Like the one good game Jamal Adams has really been against the Eagles, and the only like highlight they're really showing is him like disrupting.
Oh my god.
Harry.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting you a lot.
What is so important? The Raiders and the Jets game.
The Raiders did not score. The Jets fucked the tank.
So is it like, are they just going to kneel it now or what?
Yeah, because the Raiders don't have any timeouts, I don't think.
Wow.
That's important news, man. The Jets just screwed up the best scenario in history.
See, I actually wanted them to trade the first overall pick just because really it's not, I don't think Trevor Lawrence is really going to change the whole thing. If Adam Gase, who doesn't deserve to be the head coach, really what you need is assets because they have no depth at anywhere, any position on the field.
Except for wide receiver. Denzel Mims all the way.
Trade down and maybe get like teams this year. Another year would be different, but this year you got Trevor Lawrence. You need a franchise quarterback. Like here we go. So teams would be willing to give up a lot for Trevor Lawrence, and if the Jets just need assets, like go ahead and trade the first overall pick because you need depth at certain positions. That's how you get it. Really.
But then, do you want to turn into the Bears, right? Because that's what the Bears did. They didn't exactly do that, but they fucked up the quarterback position, right? They screwed up the quarterback position.
No, they traded up to get a shit quarterback.
Blah, 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 whatever. But they traded assets to get assets. Like they traded some first-round picks to get Khalil Mack. They kept Kyle Fuller. They drafted A. Jackson. So they built a great team around a crappy quarterback. That's what the Jets would do if they traded this first overall pick. Now, I don't think Trevor Lawrence will do good, just like how I didn't think Joe Burrow would do good, because I'm on the side where if this guy gets a ton of hype, they're more like way too much hype, like GOAT hype. They're most likely going to fall through, right? They're most likely not going to work out.
I don't see it as that. I just see it as like, is Sam Darnold really the reason why they're 0-12? No.
But passing up, let's say Trevor Lawrence works out, right? It's like passing up Patrick Mahomes because you're like, yeah,
Burrow is a very good quarterback with assets, and the Bengals are like 2-9.
Yeah, that's because he got injured and they're getting
winning. I'm not saying
you're trying to win long term. Long term. If you're
one guy is not going to change the whole picture. I don't think so, especially Trevor Lawrence.
I definitely do. Like,
if their defense is bad,
name me one franchise that was able to have sustained success, which means at least multiple Super Bowls, without any good defense without a franchise quarterback, right? Without a top 5, top 10 quarterback, multiple Super Bowls in the last 30 to 50 years. There isn't really one.
But you have Sam Darnold. You picked Sam Darnold at 3.
Do you think Sam Darnold is going to be that guy? Do you think he's going to be top 10?
Not under Adam Gase. He could. He's shown.
Well, they're only keeping Adam Gase. At this point, it's clear why they're keeping Adam Gase. Why fire Adam Gase when he's going to lead you to the number 1 overall pick, and that's what your goal was anyways, right?
Yeah.
They'll keep him around. They're obviously going to fire him after the season. Why would they even keep him? They're only keeping him to get the number 1 overall pick.
Okay, but even if you trade down to like 7 or something, you're still going to get a good return, and you can draft like Trey Lance or whatever.
Yeah, but Trey Lance isn't going to be Trevor Lawrence, I don't think. I don't know. But still, you don't have a comeback for me saying that there's never been a sustained success franchise without a franchise top 10, top 5 quarterback. That's because there isn't one. So why do you have the chance
at you and say you've never
the chance at
a Super Bowl champion that has had a franchise quarterback and nobody else? Like no franchise quarterback has carried a team.
You can build around it because a franchise quarterback is a franchise quarterback for 10 to 15 years. So you have 10 to 15 years to build a team. And if you
You
can't,
think Trevor Lawrence will be around for 10 to 15 years?
do I think what?
You think Trevor Lawrence will be around, assuming that the Jets pick Trevor Lawrence, you think he'll be around for 10 to 15 years?
I think there's a high chance that he can be. I think there's a high chance that he can be. From every source I've looked at, he's the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck, who was the best since Peyton Manning, right? And Andrew Luck only retired because they weren't able to get an offensive line, and he died, right? And that was a freak thing. He didn't actually die, but he got really bad kidney injuries, really bad back injuries. That's still a freak thing. And here's the thing. They drafted no offensive linemen in like the top 3 rounds, 5 years up to leading to Andrew Luck, or the first 3 to 5 years of his career. They did not draft a singular offensive line in the first 2 rounds, besides Quentin Nelson at the end, right? When they started to actually build an offensive line. They've already drafted a really good offensive lineman in Mekhi Becton, and they're going to be getting like the 20th or so pick, which you can really get good offensive linemen there, like Cesar Ruiz this past year. Great center, not like amazing, but a great rookie center for the Saints that they drafted at 26 or 28 overall, right? And that's going to be about where the Seahawks pick's going to be. So you can start to build an offensive line. Jamison Crowder is good, right? Rashad Perryman has shown flashes. Denzel Mims has shown flashes. And then you don't really have a running back, right? You have Frank Gore, who's trash and like 80 years old. In defense, you have CJ Mosley, Quentin Williams, who's your defensive tackle, is really good. He's an underrated defensive tackle. And obviously, you're going to need to build around him, but your most important player is your quarterback. And if you already have some pieces, right, it's not nothing.
Oh, I think it's nothing.
It's not nothing. I just explained why
it's like
not nothing, right? I just explained why it's not nothing. Last year, Joe Burrow on that team was nothing. That's nothing. Joe Burrow going to that's nothing. This is Adam Gase bringing down this team from not nothing. I'm not saying it's good. They have one offensive tackle, 2 wide receivers who I think can be good, and then a defensive tackle and a linebacker. That's 5 of 22 that are okay to decent to good, right? That's 5. That's better than none, which is what the Bengals were last year.
Well, the Bengals have more this year.
Yeah, because they drafted and they signed free agents and they developed players. Because that's what happens when you take the quarterback and you start to develop around him, Gavin.
You're not changing my mind on this. They should.
I'm not. You're not changing my mind.
Okay.
Let's move on. I
think we should move on. Let's talk some NBA. Chicago Bulls drafting Patrick Williams. What are your thoughts on that? We'll just cut right to the chase.
Really good. Raiders scored a touchdown. The Jets did not lose. The Jets lost. Now I'm getting into Patrick Williams. That's it, right?
The Jets
the Raiders scored. They got like a pick 6 or a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Something
actually.
Yeah.
Nice. Adam Gase working his magic.
Let's go. The tank's still on. Patrick Williams. So I like the pick. It's hard. It's very hard because
I'm very conflicted.
it's so conflicting it's very conflicting.
Also,
Patrick Williams can be very good. I've heard like some like people say that he can be the next Kawhi Leonard, which it's like no, not at all, right? Because he's a good post defender for a wing, very good post defender for a wing. He's an decent, like he's a good wing defender, and then he's not great against guards because he's a little bit flat-footed. He's not the fastest, right? He's much more of an athlete than Kawhi Leonard. I think Kawhi Leonard's not a good athlete or a very good athlete. I think he's just very smart with his hands, and that's how he's very good. And, he's great with positioning and footwork and all that, which comes from Tim Duncan. But anyways, back to Patrick Williams. I think he can be very good because he's going to be a good defender, and we did need that. I did kind of underestimate how much we needed a good defender because Kobe White's not great, Zach LaVine's getting better, not great, and then Larry Markin's not great, but Wendell Carter can be great. Daniel Gafford can be great.
Daniel Gafford is very good. But, I mean, those are both centers,
Yeah, exactly. So you need a perimeter defender to guard the best perimeter player against everyone else. Yeah. So I think he can be good because he has potential. He's a decent shooter. He has a decent handle. He can play make a bit because apparently he played point guard in high school all the time to his multiple state championships down in North Carolina. North Carolina is a very good basketball state, so that isn't like winning a state championship in Alabama for basketball, which is obviously a different story for football. But like for basketball, it's not that impressive, but in winning a state championship in states like California for basketball, Illinois, Kentucky, North Carolina, all that kind of stuff, that's impressive because those are really good high school basketball states. Or New York. And then we have – but then with Patrick Williams, you have the downside, which is that he's not amazing at anything, right? He can just – I don't think he'll be bad at all. I don't think there's a chance of him being bad. I think his floor is a 10th man on an okay team, right? I think he'll stick in the league because he's so athletic and he has so much potential at every position. Not every position, but in every asset, right? I don't think he has a major weakness on him besides the fact that he's not great at anything. So he's going to need a ton of developing. But if he develops, I think he can be a very, very good player. Now, don't take this out of context, but kind of like a young LeBron James, as in scoring 20 points, getting nearly 10 rebounds, getting 7 assists, all that stuff, doing good at everything, but not great at one singular thing, and then, being great at everything, not doing great at one thing, and then just being an all-star level, right? I don't think he'll be – there's no chance he's going to be LeBron James because LeBron James is LeBron James and he's won. I just mean that kind of esque player, that type of esque player, kind of good at everything.
I see what you're saying. For a second, I thought you were saying how like young LeBron James would come out like immediately to start averaging 20 and 7. I'm like, okay, if that's what you're expecting year one, you can.
I'm not. That's his peak. Now. That's what I'm saying is his peak is 20 something and 7.
So I've been thinking about all these different scenarios and like Bulls at 4. How Patrick Williams will turn out. Will I be happy or disappointed? And I was thinking, like, if he ended up being a consistent, reliable 6th man all-around guy for like years to come while the Bulls were in like their playoff contention, would you be happy with that?
If he's like a good, consistent 6th man.
He was like a Dennis Schroeder off the bench. Like he would never start, but he would average like 17, 8, and 6 off the bench.
I'd be happy with that. My thing is that I thought they should have drafted Denny Ajiva, so I don't care what he does as long as he does better than Ajiva. Because Okoro, not a great, okay fit at 6'7", defensive small forward, pretty good.
I thought Okoro was the best pick for them.
Yeah, he was a really good pick. But he's been sent to die in Cleveland.
So he'll be like
not another good defender. He's an amazing
scores.
There's not another good defender on that roster. So he's been sent to die there. So I don't think he'll be very good. And then any other draft for the top 10, Okoro.
Oh, you're okay. I was talking about Agia.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I think he's also sent to die because I thought he was originally my pick to win Rookie of the Year because I think guys in Euro leagues and guys kind of that were playing like I think he was Euro leagues, wasn't he?
He was EuroLeague. Yeah, he was in an Israeli league. He was in an Israeli league, and then he did play a bit in Luka Doncic.
I would think those guys are the most NBA ready. We've seen that with Luka. We've seen that with other NBA European guys. Unless you draft him too early, Dragon Bender. Anyways, so I think FD has been nurtured enough where I feel like he's the most NBA ready. And second, he got drafted by the Wizards, which now with Russ and Beal, I don't think he's going to be good. Then I'm thinking Okoro. I'm like, okay, so he's a really good defender. We need a good defender. Otto Porter is just not it. Nothing about Otto Porter is right. Zach LaVine, he's not really known for his perimeter defense either. So I'm like, Okoro, if he can get a jump shot, he will fit really nicely. It's just a 3-and-D cone. And then, so I thought he was the best pick. But so Williams, I don't know. I think I'm happy with it, but it was definitely a reach. I think there were better options out there. But I think it could pay off. It could either not pay off, or it could either like bust and they'll call AK the basketball Ryan Pace for Trubisky, or it could pay off and he'll be like a good starter. My only concern, aside from that, he never started in college, is that he was the second youngest guy in the draft. I believe he's like 18, right? 18 or 19.
He just turned 18 in August or 19 in August. So he was the youngest American-born player in the draft.
Yeah. So, I mean, ideally the Bulls could probably be in playoff contention in 3 years. But we won't I'm assuming I'm expecting this to take probably like 4 to 5 years for Patrick Williams to maximize his potential and become like the starter, just because he's so young and raw. I think it'll take some time for him to develop. So I'm wondering, I want him to have like an impact as fast, and really fast. I don't think that having like a long-term project like him with just like kind of raw athleticism was really the right thing. But once again, I do think he has a ton of upside. He's like the biggest question mark. Like no draft scout has really had any surefire this is what you're getting from him, at least that I've seen on YouTube. I wish the Bulls made a few more moves in free agency. I see all these people that are like, oh, the Bulls off season was a D, an F. That was a bad pick, and they made no moves. So I'm praying that this isn't true because I've given up on the Bears. The Cubs are regressing. The Blackhawks are bad. So I'm going on the Bulls. Please, please don't mess this up. I really want them to be good, because imagine if the two of my favorite Chicago teams have had top 5 picks since 2017. Both of them turned out to be busts. I'm moving if that happens. So I do think he'll be good. I don't think he'll live up to expectations, and I don't think he'll be top 3 in his class even. So I don't think he'll be top 3 in his class. That's where I'm going. But I do think he'll be a viable bench option. So will that be expectations? Probably not. But I think he will help them. He's not going to hurt them. He's not going to be a bust. But he's also not going to be. He'll be the reach that he'll be performing at the level of where he's expected to go. So that's how I see it.
Yeah. I think he'll be good. I don't think he'll be 20 and 10. I think he'll be, like you said, 18. I think he'll be a starter though because of his defense. He'll be a really good, just okay wing. Not okay, but top 20, top 15.
Sixth man of the year.
I don't think he'll be on the bench because who would you be starting over him, and why?
What if he can't handle it? Just because he was never a starter in college.
That was just because of the system, I think, but I think he can handle it. I don't think there's many people. I think there's only a few select people who can't start, and that's Montrezl Harrell, because his whole thing and Thaddeus Young, their whole thing is like they bring energy off the bench. That's really it. Is they bring energy and effort off the bench, which is, not very common in the NBA because people aren't very happy being on the bench most of the time. So they bring energy, defense, that kind of stuff. But I don't think he'll be that guy because he'll bring defense, but I think he's just
athleticism, energy, high motor, and defense. Kind of sounds
never said to have an extremely high motor. I don't think he'll be a sixth man. I think he'll be a starter. Then who are you? Not this year.
I'm not saying that I want it to happen.
Who are you starting over him in the future? Let's say he reaches what we think, right? Really good defender, 18, 7, and 5 a night, right?
Yeah, you probably
starting over him, right? Unless you're able to sign Giannis or Paul George or Kawhi Leonard or something crazy, who are you starting over him?
They'll probably find somebody in the next 4 years because, like I said, I don't expect him to have those kind of numbers until like 4 to 5 years because he's so young. So I think he'll probably find somebody in those 4 years. No one right now. We're definitely not starting Denzel Valentine right now.
Yeah. And Otto Porter's only played 29 games in the year and a half he's been with us. So,
year and a half.
The whole Bulls roster. What?
29 and a half for his entire Bulls stint. He's played 29 games.
Yeah, that's what I heard yesterday.
God.
Yeah, he's very injured. But he's been okay in his games.
I like him.
And whatever. He can't stay healthy, and that's the issue. I would just like to also give another shout out for fantasy football. Corey Davis for not putting up 28 and a half, but putting up 35 and a half on my defense or on my bench. Thanks for that, Chief. Really appreciated. But, getting back on track with basketball, now to the whole Bulls roster. I think it was not a bad pick, but I don't think it was the best pick for a different reason. Because I think the Bulls will be in a playoff contention this year.
See, that's what I'm saying. I think they'll be like championship level in 3 years.
I thought you said playoff contending. I was like, what are you talking about?
No, I'm expecting them to make the playoff or just out of the playoffs this year, into the playoffs next year, and then fighting.
So I think that because Kobe White's going to take a big step, I feel like, because he was good at the end of the season. It wasn't like he started off hot and fizzled out. He got hot towards the end of the season.
With Jim Boylan.
Jim Boylan, the worst coach in professional sports history. I think Zach LaVine will take a step. I think he'll go from a 25-point game score to a 27, 28, so like the upper echelon of scoring. I think Lauri Markkanen will take a big step because he won't be forced to get rebounds, but he'll actually be able to play his game. And I think Wendell Carter will thrive under Billy Donovan. I think Billy Donovan's a really good coach, and I think
you mentioned that with Patrick Williams. Hopefully, I do hope that Billy Donovan's improved some great guys in Oklahoma City. So hopefully that him and Patrick Williams will be a match made in heaven. So that's one of the things I'm banking on. But continue.
Yeah, so I just think the Bulls roster is going to be really good because they're constructed really well, and adding defense with Patrick Williams will help them a lot because then you'll have a really good perimeter defender. Zach LaVine's getting better at defense now. He's not great, but he's getting better. And Wendell Carter, I think, will thrive and become one of the best defenders in the NBA because most of the people that I like to listen to, like Bill Simmons, Ryan Russillo, people who actually talk about people who aren't talked about, if that makes sense. So, ESPN only talked about 7 guys for the whole year. They never talk about these other guys. Where these guys on The Ringer, shout out to The Ringer, I really like them. And The Ringer Podcast Network, awesome. I love all their podcasts. And they actually talk about the Bulls every once in a while, especially with them having the number 4 pick recently. They've talked about them a lot. And they've talked about, the trade rumor of trading Wendell Carter and the 4th pick for the 2nd pick. And they were saying at Hall, how they all love Wendell and how Wendell has such, really, really good potential. Which, by the way, when I drafted, I hated the draft pick because he was the backup center for the Duke team. So I hated it. Just kind of like Williams. And he's been turning out pretty good. He has been kind of injured. Wendell has. So let's hope that doesn't continue. But I think people kind of underestimate the step that the Bulls are going to take with Billy Donovan. Going from Jim Boylan, that's pulling down the team, they still finished 10th, 9th or 10th. No, not 9th. Sorry, 10th or 11th.
12. No, they weren't that
10th
close.
or 11th in the conference. They were behind the Wizards, Charlotte, and that was it. So that's 10th, Gavin.
Is it really that?
Yeah. Because below them, they had the Cavs, the Knicks were below them, the Hawks were below them. There's 3 teams, and there's that's 12, and then there's a couple other I'm forgetting. But 10th, they were, not super close, but they were somewhat close. And then that was being dragged down by Jim Boylan. Everyone's just going to get better with Billy Donovan. So I think we're going to underestimate the step that they're going to take. So I think the Eastern Conference as a whole take a huge step, of course, because, KD's coming back, Giannis, and blah, 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 blah. And
Sixers.
I think basically the top 7 teams are set. The Bucks, the Heat, the Raptors, the Celtics, the Nets, and 76ers, right? That's the top 6. And then Indiana. I think all those people are making the playoffs for sure. It's only the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th seed because remember they're doing the play-in round. And I think the competitors for that are the Hornets because they were in the 9th spot or they were in the 9th spot or 8th spot. Or they were ahead of us. So we were 11. Sorry, they were 10th. And they just got better with adding Gordon Hayward, however bad that contract was, and LaMelo Ball. They're obviously just getting better, so they'll be in contention. The Wizards got Russell Westbrook. They'll be in contention. And the Magic will be in contention in us. So I think there's going to be like 5 or 6 teams that are going to be – the Hawks got a lot better. The Hawks got a lot better.
Bulls over the Magic.
You like the Bulls over the Magic?
Okay. I don't think the Magic are that good.
I don't know. It depends. We have to see what happens. I think losing Jonathan Isaac for the season will be really big because he tore his ACL.
I forgot about that because he tore his ACL in the bubble.
Exactly.
So you have Bruce, Gordon, Anthony, and Fultz. I don't know how ESPN
who did draft this year. I forget who.
Cole Anthony.
Oh, okay. So, but anyways. I want to start wrapping it up, but I think the Bulls will step it up to, my guess would be like 40 to 45 wins. So that bottom above 500 or just at 500 or just below. Because like I said, I think Markkanen will get back to his best season yet and score 22 a game. Wendell will get a little bit better. Instead of 12 and 10, he'll now average 15 and 11. And then I think Patrick Williams will do good. Otto Porter hopefully is healthy. And then I think Kobe White will take a huge step, and then Zach LaVine will take another step up into the upper echelon of scorers. So I think this team's going to be really good. How about you, Gavin? And then
best case scenario is that they make like the 8th or the 7th seed in the playoffs. Billy Donovan is as good as advertised. Kobe White jumps up to like almost an all-star level. Lauri Markkanen matches that. Zach LaVine could be an all-star. Wendell Carter, if he stays healthy, could be like just him and Daniel Gafford could just
like a good rotation
spot minutes and just kind of bang in work down on the block and defense. I think best case scenario for Patrick Williams, year 1, putting up his college numbers. So that's like 9 points, like 4 rebounds, and like 40% shooting from the field, and like
36 or 37 from 3.
Yeah, exactly. So like I don't. People had so many concerns about his 3-point shooting. I don't think so on the Bulls. With Billy Donovan, I don't think that we should really worry that much about his 3-point struggles. Hopefully they get better. But yeah, so I think best case scenario is that they're in the playoffs. It's like the 7th seed. Year 1, that would be just huge.
That'd be amazing.
They're only going to get better. Worst case scenario, they stay in that same like 10th or 11th spot.
And none of the guys we needed to progress actually regress.
They get worse.
So if Markkanen regresses again, it's almost
So yeah. That's what I think the worst case scenario is, because like if we don't really see like much of like an improvement, like Billy Donovan hasn't made that much of an impact. Patrick Williams is bust level, and our young guys start to regress. That would be an absolute nightmare. I'm moving from Chicago if that happens. But We'll see. We'll see. I'm really excited. NBA action starts in like 2 weeks, but that's up for me. Josh, anything else?
Nope, that is it. Just, doing the outro because this is YouTube. How does it feel looking at our faces for the first time? Because
Yeah,
we're doing a long podcast. This is going to be around an hour and like 7 minutes, I think, or so. And
Bit
you're
of a
going
long
to be
episode.
seeing our faces for the first time. So
More of a podcast than a YouTube channel right now.
I don't know how often we'll do that because of how ugly we are. We'll probably get a ton of dislikes just because of the way we look and caterpillar eyebrows over there. You're welcome for that. Oh yeah.
Stand up, my friend.
At least nobody's gonna watch to the end unless people that know us, because our watch time is trash. So please watch for longer. But cutting to the chase, thank you for watching. Would you guys like to comment down below if you would like to see more of these long episodes rather than just like the 10 to 15 to 20 minute ones, like this long hour long of just us talking? Or would you like us to go back to not showing our faces and not talking for that long because we're just that annoying? But anyways, hit the like, subscribe if you liked, because that's the way this works. Comment if you have any criticisms or you just hate us. We're cool with that too. Thank you for watching and goodbye.